Good morning, Green Room and YouTube. So we start off the day with a little breakout failure to the upside. Not unexpected, coming up into the resistance up here. So trading range continues, and sometimes I use the expression, this is where the heavy lifting starts. So this market has just been, we've seen the big bars coming up toward the top and back down again and back up again and back down again and back up again. And so can they possibly do it this time to lift it off and get out of this trading range? Well, we'll see. This 60-minute chart, what's happened here is across the different futures markets, where there was that initial pop up at around 2 in the morning and immediately came back down again. So as they're waiting for the open here to see if buyers are going to save the day and maybe push it back up again. So the longer it stays down here without the ability to rally back up toward the failure point, the greater the probability that it's going to go down. So this pattern suggests it will go down, and support is down in this area over here. So it wouldn't be such a terrible thing, I suppose. Let's just kind of see where these lines, if they line up the way I left them, 2860. Yeah, give or take. So yeah, if it went all the way down there, the daily chart would start taking on a, it'll look like, okay, back down to the bottom of the range. So in reality, what we would like to see from the bullish point of view would be for it to hold the 2900 level, give or take. So that would be about the middle of the wide range bar, and there's a shelf of support right there. So it would make sense. So if you're thinking, as this develops here on the smaller time frames, to consider it as a short to go lower, that would be the place to be thinking about taking the money. We're talking about SPX in the room there. Today's Tuesday. You're going to put them on the day before and wait? Anyway, so pretty simple today. Weeklies are still in a downtrend. Dailies move chopping sideways here at the top of the range. Expect sellers to be here, and we'll see how much selling occurs and how far down it comes here, or whether it can stay up here and chop sideways. If it can stay up there, that's going to be a positive event, suggesting that it can continue to push higher. We'll just have to see. SSO, you see there was the big gap up yesterday, and after the little rally first thing in the morning, it went nowhere, and prices couldn't break out. So bottom of the range, top of the range, same story. They're at 114 here, so really no big deal. A little breakout failure there, and 114. There's a hole under here, what we call a void. So mark off this low, right? The day's low, yesterday's low. And if it breaks down through there, there's going to be nothing to stop it. Nothing to stop it. I'm going down there. And NASDAQ. So far, peekaboo new high, possibly an M top. We got to see how this progresses here today. We got the same breakout pattern, upside shakeout failure, and same story, pretty simple pattern here today. You got a breakout failure, and if it breaks through here, we look for it to go down, and we see where the yellow line is lined up there. When you get a move like we saw yesterday, and so with the futures here, we're seeing a complete bar rather than the whole. Nonetheless, you can see this little bit of congestion here, but if these are come all the way back down to 91.50 and don't rip back to the upside, this is gonna form an M top, and then we just see if it follows through the next day. With this news-driven market, a lot of it's been day to day, but so far we start off the day with a little bit of a bearish to neutral pattern to see if it actually follows through here and prices break through this support. And if they do, well, we'll just see how far it can go. Pretty simple. Qs, right, there's the gap up, the little peekaboo above the high there. And just look for yesterday's low as being what should be a significant reference point of support. And ideally, it doesn't go down there. Like if you're long and you want this market to go higher, ideally you do not want to see this coming down here. And if it does get down here, you want to see it spring back up like a rocket ship. So right now, just consolidating here, chopping around. That's why I say a little bearish to neutral as to the location and the pre-market trading here. That says that sellers are stepping up. So we'll see how far it goes. Stay above that 2,900 on SPX. Well, pretty, I guess so. Again, we got a gap up of significance yesterday. I think the percentage-wise gaps, this was around 2%, 2.5%. The Russell, I think, was closer to 4%. These are big gaps on these markets. And then it actually held to push a bit higher. There were some attempts to roll over and buyers stepped up and picked up, aggressively. So you do not want to see this gap filled, ideally, with that kind of strength that we saw yesterday. You want to see it chop around here. If it dips down, as I said, you want to see it pop right back up again. You may be. I'd have to go and look at my other screen to see. I don't know if it updated here. Yesterday, Russell. What the hell is it? It's updating already for today. Anyway. Yeah, it could have been 6%. It was a big gap yesterday. Anyway, so same story here. We have the potential to fall like a rock into the void below. And if buyers are serious from yesterday, that's not going to happen. That's basically what we're going to be looking for. And as already said, we're starting off the day. Tendency to close the gap? No, there isn't a tendency to close the gap. You can see that there's an unfilled gap down here, never been filled. And like 2 months later, not been filled. True power doesn't fill the gap. Fake power, call it fake news, right? Yeah, they fill gaps. Right? Goes up to resistance. Well, it's up at resistance. So now, as I said, heavy lifting, right? It's like, okay, you got it up here. Now let's see what you can do. So, starting off the day with a little bearishness, a little neutral, the breakout failure, which I showed you right over here. And so at the open, we'll just see which way it's going to go. And by the end of the day, we'll see where it's at. Bottom of the range, top of the range. There's going to be sellers. Now we see what's going to happen. Dow, bottom of the range, top of the range. Right. So the longer it stays up there, the less confident, well, let's put it this way. Depends on how long it stays up there, right? So as you're watching trading intraday or on a daily chart and prices come up to a resistance area and it gets knocked back down and it gets knocked back down and it comes up there again. And this time it came up there with power. Look at, the size of this bar. And if this thing can't get going, I would say by tomorrow, there's a problem. There's a problem. So let's just assume today's a resting day after the big bar. That's pretty common price action. So after, if today turns out to be a resting day and prices stay in the upper half of this bar here, the bullish things that we look for, the next day should be moving to the upside. Those are your typical patterns and how things operate. And so, again, we'll just see if this looks like this today, no big deal. Candle, the range, the bodies at the top of the big wide range bar, nothing wrong with that. Comes down a little bit, no big deal. Won't supply eventually start to wane? Yeah, of course. But at what point, Paul? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. By tomorrow, if this holds up here today, or it pokes down and it comes back up again, if today is that consolidation day, tomorrow buyers should step up and want to push this above this level. Right? I don't think it should take more than a day and a half of chopping around. Breadth and sentiment not telling us too much here. You know, this is coming up, you know, it's come up pretty fast. Yesterday was a good day. You can see, you know, breadth was strong. So as this comes up, I'll tell you, you know, we won't go back into the late last year where things started to deteriorate, right? And we saw back at that time, breadth do something like this, where, you know, he was getting lower highs and the breadth was deteriorating and the market went up. And that was around what preceded the market taking that dive lower. I can show you. It was over here, right? The markets were going up and then the breadth started to deteriorate here. It was like warning, warning. And, you know, the sentiment got up to the upper parts here and we were ringing the bell, careful, this is a problem. You know, no one knew Corona was coming. Well, only those politicians that was selling their stock that knew ahead of time, they knew. In any event, you know, right now we've got some deteriorating breadth and sentiment. We'll see where it is today, but, you know, here's where we got the first signal, which was on this green day here, that warning. And I said at the time in the letter, things rarely ever turn on a dime. And they did this time, right? Mr. Schizophrenic pulled one on us and down it went to the bottom of the range, fast and furious. And when it went down there, it came back up again. And now yesterday's gap and narrow range. So news-driven market, day-to-day stuff. And we deal with it day-to-day. That's what we do here, right? And you can see where sentiment was yesterday. And you see this 0.7, it was actually around 0.6 something intraday. And so when you have a put call ratio down this low intraday, it put a cap on the market going higher. You know, as we look at the spiders and see what they did, you know, after they initially went up and the market opened, there was that little blast to the upside, and then it was just flat, dying, whatever, and to the close. And then, you know, all of a sudden it was like, oh crap, we're at resistance, let's sell. And down it came, you know, right into the close. And so now it's just chopping around. Let's just get rid of this. And so we'll just see how this all unfolds. Right, the same pattern here in the Russell, the breakout and coming back in. It's at resistance, big green bar, so on and so forth. It's the same everywhere. And you know, I like to look at the ETFs. So the day chart, you see the big hole or void, as I call it. Lots of room to fall. Came down hard, came back up and gapped. There's nothing below here. Right, so those of you that have your exponentially weighted proprietary moving average based on Fibonacci 55 divided by 33 and your Ichikumi clouds, Good luck with that. There's nothing here. All right. And let's just move along here so we can move on here. So this has the smallest void. And so what we always want to see in a scenario like this is, it holds above the void. Don't close the void. Come down here, create some support, chop around sideways, show that buyers are willing to take whatever supply comes in and chop around at resistance, and that would be bullish price action. We'll see what unfolds today. The ABCD butterfly, that has something to do with a Gartley pattern wrapped around a square of 9 with an Elliott wave twist, something like that, Paul. Those of you on YouTube, you see we have fun with the indicator-based methodology that is based on the Holy Grail and hocus pocus analysis. Right? We focus on price action here. Dow, same story, up at resistance. It's the same everywhere. Let's just move on so Dan can move up here. Oil has had a really nice move, right? After making this W bottom, up at resistance and hang out. So this is bullish price action, right? As it not directly at resistance, but this is the kind of bullish price action you look for at resistance. Topping tail, it doesn't follow through and it begins creeping up. And then now it's moved up to resistance, and odds are it's going to stall here now that it's at that resistance area. Bonds, just been in a trading range. We've been looking at this now for a month or so. Now coming back down to the bottom of the range. Gold was down yesterday, right, moving in the opposite direction of the market. Now it's stabilizing. It's just been chopping around for days. Silver brought up the rear. Right, our ETF people took some profits yesterday. Dan sold some calls on that. Got a nice move from this area, so that looks pretty darn good. And, well, I say the dollar's down a little bit today, but pretty much, currencies really haven't been doing much of anything. Trading ranges for quite a long time. And, a lot of uncertainty everywhere, no matter where you look, right? The pound has been somewhat got trending going there in Australia, pretty much trading range every there too. So lots of uncertainty around the world, and everybody waiting to get back into the gyms, the beach, the bars, and some normal life, and see how this unfolds as the disastrous numbers come our way with all the bad earnings and so on and so forth, and the recession that's supposed to be brewing. Well, we'll see. Maybe it's different this time. Enjoy, says the weed shops. All righty, Dan, it's all yours, my friend.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, talking about reopening the economy and stuff. I don't know what state it was, Debbie. I'm guessing California, but they said that some restaurants are now tacking on a coronavirus fee to the bill. And we were talking about that the other day. Like, do restaurants, do they want to come back? The one guy on TV said his opening up at 25%, he's going to have a bigger loss than not being open at all. And that's what I've been saying. And what about the permanent changes that these businesses have to encounter? The permanent changes are going to not only reduce the revenue, like at the gym, you've got to spread stuff out. You can't, so it's the reduced revenue coupled with the increased expenses. So I think we're already in a recession. We have 4 opens in the weekly options trader, ACB. We had a covered call on this, and wow, we capped our gains, but we still made, I think, an incredible 78% in 2 days, because we got in on this day and then sold it yesterday. But that little thing's been on fire. So we still have a put spread for this week. I mean, look at this, folks. Do y'all remember how excited I got when I saw those puts? I just immediately started salivating on my keyboard. We sold the 5.5 I'm sorry, the $7.50 puts under this low, bought the 5.5, so it's $2 wide. I got to do a lesson on this. We took in 48 cents on a $2 wide just for a couple days for this Friday. That was amazing. On Grub, we have a put spread. We're in trail stop mode, already at 50% of max profit. Netflix, we have a put spread. Friday, looking fine. Finally, on Pepsi, we have a Condor. And see, McGraw, I posted a chart on YouTube on this morning, but I would say 98% of the time, I like legging into Condors, unless it's like this, multiple reference points of resistance and support. Just let it, bobble around, and every day make time decay. Hey, that had a nice ring to it, McGraw. Every day you get time decay. Yeah, I actually called this gal also at the gym down the street. I called three people with condos with nice gyms. I'll be quick here, I know we're busy. Anyway, they said no guests allowed, number one. Number two, all three of them, well, 2 out of 3 were not open. The one that was open said, yeah, no guests allowed. You got to make an appointment. Only 10 people allowed at a time for an hour, and then they shut it down for 30 minutes to clean it. So think about that. Think about those gym. What's a commercial gym going to have to go through? All right, so I have no idea what's up with this little pixie. It looks like a penny stock toy, the way it gets, beaten down, but something is definitely up with it this morning. Disney, the CEO. Hey, here's a little day trade short setup right here. This looks great for a day trade short. Let's put that right here. The CEO. CEO is leaving and going to TikTok. I read. And I don't know if the stock would be up or down, but I guess that's the market's way of telling you if they're happy with your departure, right? It's exactly what it's saying. Yeah, TJ, I had a gym I had a big 7,000 square foot house in Charlotte on the golf course, 3-story. And I had a gym there, but still it's nowhere near, what I'm used to. Oh, I didn't go over the swing trades yet. Sorry, I got distracted with my gym story. BMY, we have a covered call, and we're still long stock, short the call, so that allows us to sit through the pullback. CCL, we bought a call yesterday. The cruise ships and even the airlines a little bit were perking, but these had better patterns than the airlines. And then we sold the Friday out of the money call, which is called a bull call diagonal, Midla. This was on the weekend letter, buying over the high. Yesterday, we bought a 5-minute high because it gapped over the entry. And that looks great. Finally, TMUS. TMUS gapping down, but we're in this at 94 bucks. Look at our amazing entry right here. Where do we do it? It's 94 and change. Right here. I don't know. I think it was this afternoon breakout right here. And we've just been trailing pivots. It's been really, really easy to manage this. So we're out of 2/3. So it's gapping under the stop, which I had it tight under 101. So that's all right. I said, we're just going to trail the last third. Maybe it turns into a home run. So that was a great trade. SoftBank sell and raise capital. All right, let's continue with gappers. Gapping down 59 bucks. That's a bearish gap. So a little upside shakeout. Possible call spread candidate. A-Bus is penny stock garbage. Expedia. The travel stocks were perking yesterday too. gapping down a little bit, nothing to do now. DVAX gapping up $7. That's another, I'm just guessing, Corona stock thing. But here's what I like about the monthly. This is a W bottom with a little downside shakeout. We call that new low a plus. Target, I don't know, target $10. But the problem is it's gapping too much. Where would you put your stop right now? Myrna, this was one we were saying was a call spread gap and crap candidate. This is what got the market all bullish or more bullish yesterday. It went from Dow 300 to Dow 700. Myrna saying they had some positive news. And I was just saying, look, you're gapping up now. I said there was a very high chance that that was the high for the week. And so far nailed it. CVNA $91, bearish gap, no great pattern. We'll come back to it. ACB we talked about. McGraw, ACB is high. Is that a correct statement? AAP at earnings up $8. This is a put spread candidate. Let's keep an eye on that. Don't even bother looking the first 10 minutes because the spreads will be preposterous. But in 10 minutes, we'll come back to Alpha, Alpha, Papa. Oh, I always like looking at his cousins. What are his cousins, McGraw? I forgot. I don't go to car stores, car repair stores. Shoot, I forgot. I usually have them. I can just spit them out. Orly, thank you. There you go, Orly. Okay, so Orly's, I can't tell where it's gapping. And AZO, thank you. AZO up, wow, $1,100 stock. We'll come back to those. They're all put spread candidates. Delta Yankee, 35 and change. It's up 3 bars and gap into resistance, got no interest. EXP, bottoming pattern, you know, multi-month bottoming pattern. I'll probably kill it, but let's keep an eye for a put spread. Home Depot earnings gapping down 241. A small bear island reversal. Let's keep an eye on that for a call spread for Friday. KSS had earnings, bottoming pattern. Let's keep an eye on this for a put spread. See, I love credit spreads on earnings because the volatility is higher. Whiskey Bravo. Put spread watch. We'll come back. Walmart. Debbie was talking about doing a call debit spread into earnings. And if you did, Debbie, you're getting paid for it. So, you know, nothing to do for me as a new trade right now. Yeah, I got from Alex's list. I went through them last night, and there was 3 of them that I said are great red bar ignored breakouts. So I got this one on Delta Golf, Zynga, over yesterday's high, another red bar ignored breakout, and 5N is another one. Although the weekly and monthly were more extended, but all 3 of these are good red bar ignores. Pro 812. It's extended pre-market, so you would have to wait for a better intraday setup. KMX. KMX gapped up yesterday. Did we miss that one? McGraw, this is a put spread candidate. So look at KSS bottom right, it's selling off, and Disney actually holding. I like Disney as a short under the pre-market low. If Disney now turns around and takes out the pre-market low, that will be better. That will be good. Let's continue here for a few minutes. Noah, gap and failing, got nothing. IQ, big old mess. mess. Billy, you need a pullback, a bearish gap. Baidu, I like this the last 2 days, but I knew earnings were coming. Now it's gapping up too much, unfortunately. Nothing. Zynga, we just talked about. And there's 5N again. Yeah, but 5N has to get over the high. Delta Golf. I posted this to our subscribers, both a directional and a put spread. I like it over the high. Amgen. Greg mentioned this yesterday as a call spread candidate. So, you know, gap into resistance and getting slammed. I wasn't crazy about the juice at the time. CTXS, I like this as a call spread candidate, but I looked this morning and, you know, the bid was 0. And TDG was on our, hey, there's a 1, 2, 3. If it closes here, that looks fantastic for tomorrow. Tomorrow over the highs. Sienna, McGraw, I had that as a core long, and you know, the stupid gap, because I said buy it around current prices, so, you know, I can't take credit for it. NTs, wow, all-time highs, incredible. Look at this thing was in a coma for a bunch of years. Incredible move right there. All right, I'm done with all my gappers. Uber here, nothing. I did notice some airlines perking pre-market. Love, but you know, now they're selling off after the gap up. CCL we're in, doing nothing. RCL doing nothing. I'll go toppy on the 15-minute chart. AZO, Orly. Things are messy.